The last page of the Bible is the first page, rewritten. The book opens in a garden and it ends in a city, and between them, one single thread you were never shown. 66 books, around 40 authors, roughly 1,500 years apart, 3 languages, 3 continents. Most of these writers never met each other, never could have. And somehow the whole library folds shut into one single loop. To see how, we have to go back to the worst moment in the story, the moment everything broke, because that is exactly where the ending was hidden. One sentence, spoken right after the fall. It already contained the last chapter. Start at the beginning, not with rules, not with a list of do's and don'ts. The Bible doesn't open like a law book. It opens like a scene, a garden, a river running through it, splitting into 4, and in the middle, one tree, the text calls the tree of life. The picture the writer is painting is simple and strange at once. A place where everything is in its right relationship, where the human walks with God in the cool of the day, the way you walk beside someone you trust. Hold on to 3 objects in this scene, because every one of them comes back at the very end of the book: the tree, the river, and the presence of God walking among people. Remember them. They are the hinges the whole story swings on. Notice, too, how the writer keeps grading his own work. Day by day, the same verdict lands like a drumbeat. It was good. The light, good. The land and sea, good. The living things, good. And when the human being arrives, the verdict rises one notch. Very good. Whatever else this opening is doing, it is making a claim about the original condition of the world. The default setting was not chaos. It was order, relationship, life. Everything fit. Keep that word, life, in front of you, because the tree at the center isn't decoration. It's called the tree of life, and access to it is the whole point. As long as the human can reach that tree, life continues. The garden is not really a place. It's a relationship you can lose. And then the crack. You know the broad strokes. A command. One tree, do not eat. A question from a serpent that turns the command into a suspicion. Did God really say that? Did he say it because he's protecting you? Or because he's holding something back from you? And a choice. Suddenly the people who walked with God are hiding from God, sewing leaves together to cover themselves, ashamed for the first time in the story. The harmony breaks, and it breaks downward, fast. The man blames the woman blames the serpent. Nobody owns it. And here is the detail. Almost everyone races past. They are sent out of the garden, and the way back to the tree of life is blocked, guarded, the text says, so they cannot reach it and eat. A door closes on life itself. If the story stopped here, it would be a tragedy. Paradise opened, then slammed shut, with a guard posted at the gate. But it doesn't stop here, because buried inside the curse, the punishment scene itself, God says something that makes no sense as punishment. It sounds, of all things, like a promise. To feel the weight of that promise, you have to feel how total the loss was. Genesis spends its opening chapters building a world where things fit: light and dark, sea and land, creatures, a garden, a person. Each step the text repeats the same verdict. It was good. It was good. It was very good. And then, in 3 short chapters, all of it fractures. Shame enters. Blame enters. The man blames the woman blames the serpent. The ground itself is cursed. Work becomes a struggle. Life becomes painful. And at the end of human life, now stands something that wasn't there before: death. This is the problem the entire rest of the Bible is trying to answer. Not how do I become a better person. The problem is bigger and older than that. The garden is closed, the relationship is broken, and the way back to life is guarded. So when God turns to the serpent and speaks the sentence of judgment, you expect only doom. Instead, listen to what slips in. Someone is coming. Someone who will take a wound, a strike to the heel, but who will crush the head of the thing that broke the world. It is the first time in the story that hope appears. And it appears in the strangest possible place, not after the punishment, not as a separate scene of mercy, but inside the judgment itself, spoken to the serpent. Theologians have a name for this single verse. They call it the proto-evangelium, the first gospel, the first announcement of good news. 15 Hebrew words, dropped into the darkest moment in the book, that quietly set the agenda for everything that follows, a wound and a victory through someone not yet born. There is a single Hebrew word at the center of that sentence, and once you see it, you start seeing it everywhere, through Abraham, through David, through a prophet in exile, all the way to the last page. The word is zeraʿ. Your English Bible translates it offspring, or descendants, or seed, and the translation is fine, but it quietly flattens the picture, because zeraʿ literally means a seed, a grain, the kind you bury in the dirt and wait on, not knowing for sure what will rise. So read the promise again with that image restored. God doesn't say, I will fix this now. God says, in effect, I am planting something. A seed has just gone into the ground of this broken world, and one day what grows from it will undo the damage. Now, honesty, because this channel doesn't pretend. Scholars genuinely disagree about that word here. Zeraʿ can mean one single person, one descendant, or it can mean a whole line of people, humanity as a group. 15 as pointing to one coming deliverer. Others read it as the long human struggle against evil in general. The grammar allows both, and serious readers land on different sides. We're not going to flatten that. What almost everyone agrees on is this: a seed has been planted, and the story is now the slow growing of it. Watch where the seed goes. A few chapters later, a man named Abram is told to leave everything he knows, his country, his family, his future, and walk toward a land he's never seen. He has no children, and a wife well past the age of having them. And to this man, of all people, God attaches the promise. Not, I'll make you comfortable, something far stranger. Through you, the whole world gets repaired. Zeraʿ again. Through your seed, your offspring, every nation on earth will be blessed. Notice how specific this is getting. The seed from the garden now has a direction. It runs through one man, then through his son, then his grandson, a family. Then that family goes down into Egypt to escape a famine, multiplies into a nation, and gets enslaved. The promise that was supposed to bless the whole world is now a population of slaves making bricks for someone else's empire. And that is the rhythm you need to feel for the rest of the story. Every time the seed seems to be growing, it gets buried again. A seed underground looks exactly like a seed that died. And there's one scene with Abraham you should hold on to, because it rhymes forward like an echo. God tests him. Take your son, your only son, and offer him on a mountain. Abraham loads the wood for the sacrifice onto the boy's own back, and the two of them climb. The son carries the wood up the hill to the place where he is to die. At the last moment, the boy is spared, and a ram, caught in a thicket, dies in his place. A son, wood carried up a hill, and a substitute dying instead. 2,000 years before a different son carries a different piece of wood up a different hill, the pattern is already on the page. Follow the line forward, and the story almost loses the thread on purpose. The family becomes a nation, the nation becomes slaves in Egypt, and on the night they're set free, something happens that rhymes forward across the whole book. A lamb is killed. Its blood is brushed onto the door frames of each house, the two side posts, and the beam across the top. And death, which had been moving through the land that night, passes over the houses marked by that blood. They call it the Passover, and they will keep retelling it every year for the rest of their history. File it away. Blood on wood, a lamb dying so others live, and death passing by, because every one of those details comes back on a hill outside Jerusalem. The seed keeps growing and keeps being threatened. The freed slaves become a kingdom, A shepherd boy named David becomes their greatest king, and the promise narrows once more. The deliverer, when he comes, will come through David's line. For a moment, the story looks like it's about to arrive. A throne, a capital city, a temple at its center, where God's presence dwells with his people again. A faint echo of that garden, and then it falls apart. The kingdom splits in two. Both halves rot from the inside. Foreign empires close in. The capital is besieged, the walls broken, the temple burned, and the people are marched off in chains to exile in Babylon. By every visible measure, the seed is buried for good, the nation crushed, the throne empty, the temple ash, the promise now centuries old and apparently broken beyond repair. And it's exactly there, in that darkness, that a prophet writes down something almost unbearable to read. A servant who suffers, who is wounded, not for his own wrongs, but for everyone else's, who is described as a lamb led to slaughter, silent, bearing the weight of a whole people, written by the most common dating, centuries before the event it seems to describe. Read it cold, with no church attached, and it is a strange, haunting passage. A portrait of someone whose defeat is somehow the rescue of everyone around him. The seed isn't dead, it's underground. And a seed underground is doing the one thing seeds are built to do before they rise. It's waiting. Then the waiting ends. After the exile, the people trickle back, rebuild, and wait some more. Through silence, through occupation, through one empire after another. And finally the seed comes up, as a person, born into that line of David, in that long-promised people. He gathers followers, tells stories nobody can forget, heals, infuriates the powerful, and is handed over to the empire of the day. And one afternoon, that long, buried line of promise, the seed from the garden, is hanging on a wooden cross between two criminals outside the city walls. And from the cross, before he dies, he says one word. The word is tetelestai, one word. In Greek, that's all it is, a single word. Even though English needs three to carry it, it is finished. And it is the most important word in the story to get right, because the English makes it sound like a man giving up, like the last gasp of someone who's been defeated. The Greek says almost the exact opposite. Tetelestai comes from the root telos, which doesn't mean stopped or over. It means a goal reached, a destination arrived at, a purpose carried all the way to completion. And the grammatical form he uses carries a specific weight. It means something like, it has been completed, it stands completed now, and it will stay completed. Not, I am finished, the work is finished. Think about everything that word is gathering up. The promise in the garden, the seed through Abraham, the lamb at Passover, the wood up the hill, the suffering servant in Isaiah. Centuries of a buried, threatened, almost lost line. He doesn't say, I failed. He says, the thing all of that was for, it's done. You'll hear a popular claim about this word, that tetelestai was stamped on ancient receipts to mean paid in full. It's a beautiful idea, and you'll hear it from a lot of pulpits. But here's the honest version. The historical evidence for that is thinner and shakier than people admit, and careful scholars treat it with caution. So set that aside. We don't need it. The certain meaning is strong enough on its own. The purpose set in motion back in the garden has reached its destination. And then comes the detail that ties the two ends of the book together. Look at when he dies. The Gospels place it around Passover. The same festival, the same lamb, the same blood. Remember the door frames. A lamb dying so death would pass over the people. Now that imagery lands on a person, on wood, outside the city. The ritual a whole nation had kept for 1,500 years suddenly reads like a rehearsal for this. On the cross, he quotes the opening line of an old song, Psalm 22. My God, why have you forsaken me? People hear those words and stop right there, as pure despair, a man abandoned. But that's only the first line. Go read where that same psalm ends. Its closing verse, in Hebrew, lands on the word asa. He has done it. The song he starts in agony already ends, in its own final line, on it is done. Think about what that means. The first line of that psalm is the cry of someone who feels utterly forsaken. The last line is a declaration that the work is complete. He doesn't quote the despairing opening by accident. Pointing to the first line was a way of pointing at the whole psalm, ending included. The opening cry and the closing word are the same idea in two languages, written about 1,000 years apart, landing on the same hill on the same afternoon. Asa, tetelestai, it is done. But a story doesn't end with a death. The seed planted in a garden, grown through a nation, buried on a cross, it isn't finished as in over. It's finished as in complete. And what completes it is not an empty grave alone. It's a city. Turn to the last 2 chapters of the entire Bible and watch the 3 objects come back, one by one. Remember what I told you to hold on to in the garden? The tree, the river, the presence of God walking among people. Here they are again, every single one. There's a river, bright as crystal, running right down the middle of the city's main street. There's the tree of life, the very tree whose path was sealed off and guarded at the gate of Eden. And now it's growing on both banks of that river. And the text says its leaves are for the healing of the nations. The tree that was locked away in chapter 3 of the first book is standing wide open in the last. And the presence of God, which began as one figure walking in one garden, now fills an entire city. The text says God dwells with people and they see his face. Look at how deliberate the mirroring is. Genesis, a garden, a river, a tree, God present, then a curse and a closed gate. Revelation, a city, a river, the same tree, God present, and these gates, the text says, are never shut. It is the opening scene played again, but this time nothing can break it. And then the line that closes the loop completely. There will be no curse anymore. The curse that fell in chapter 3 of the first book is lifted in chapter 22 of the last. The door that slammed shut at the tree of life swings open. The seed that went into the ground of a broken garden has finally grown into a city with no death in it. The Bible opens in a garden and ends in a city. Same tree, same river, same God among his people. But the second one can never be lost, because this time the curse is gone for good. So here is the whole library in one breath. A seed is planted in a broken garden, in a single sentence, at the worst moment in the story. It grows through a man told to leave everything, through a nation enslaved and freed, through a king and a kingdom that rises and then collapses, through an exile that looks like the end, and finally up onto a cross, on the festival of the Lamb, carrying its wood up a hill the way a son once did 2,000 years before. And then it blossoms into a city where the very first thing that was lost, the tree of life, is restored, and this time can never be lost again. 66 books, around 40 authors, roughly 1,500 years, 3 languages, 3 continents, written by shepherds and kings and fishermen and a tax collector and a doctor, most of whom never met and never could have coordinated. And the last book ends by deliberately reopening the first. Same tree, same river, same God among his people. Whatever you believe about why that happened, design or genius or something you can't name, it is, at minimum, one of the most extraordinary pieces of literary architecture ever assembled. Try it as a challenge. Pull 66 books at random from any library, written across 15 centuries by people who never spoke, and see if the last one closes the first. And it means the ending was never really a surprise. It was promised on the page right after everything fell apart. One sentence, in the middle of the curse. Everything between Genesis 3 and Revelation 22 is just that seed, growing in the dark, waiting to come up. If one sentence near the beginning already held the entire ending, then the single most important day in that story deserves a closer look. Next, we reconstruct the last 24 hours of Jesus, hour by hour, the day the seed went into the ground. It's right here. And if you want to keep following the thread through the whole book, subscribe. We're tracing it one piece at a time.